I have a question just regarding what we talked about last class.
Do it.
All right. Whoops. Oh, I was also making a egg waffle, and it just popped.
What
Yeah, sorry about that.
No waffles.
Yeah, I was wondering, when you like practice, right? Do you separate practicing from work, or do you count work as practice?
Work to me is like playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
Practice to me is training for the game.
Right. So,
Makes
like, if
sense?
you're doing your homework for this class, for example,
Uh-huh.
would you just spend all of your time just rendering, doing the homework, or would you spend
No,
like maybe like
practice.
half practice?
I'll train, right? Like, because the idea is that I'm doing homework because I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Okay. So just to give you some perspective, I have a folder here. It's called game. You see all these coding info? See all this?
Yep.
This is training.
Yeah.
This is training.
Mm-hmm.
This is training. This is old stuff. I don't know why I saw that. Some more training. Actually, I don't think I need that. Some really useful API. Let's look at this one. Well, I don't want to go away from that. I'm going to use this later to study. Like, do you know how to read any of this?
Some of it.
Okay, cool. I know how to. I mean, I already opened it. I mean, if you go to my likes, this is not just here because I like it. It's here because I want to use it later. Training. I train a lot. I try a lot. And it's consistent. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at.
Yep.
Okay. And so the question really is, it's not about how much, it's about how often.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people don't train often enough is what I'm trying to get at. Okay. They focus on the larger task. And that's what I'm trying to say, is like, is important, but not nearly as important as like, sorry, I'm trying to be more calculative with this approach. Like I generally will focus in on the things that I just don't know how to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just do it until I learn something, until I find some value, until I understand. For instance, have you ever messed with the 3D stuff in Photoshop?
I have not.
Okay. I just started to. Okay. Specifically,
I mean, I do warp and like perspective and stuff, but that's not really what you're talking about.
No, I'm talking about the actual 3D components.
No.
And so for me, I'm trying to learn it because I'm trying to get really good at 3D, and I'm seeing how much can I do in Photoshop versus 3D Coat. Not that I don't like 3D Coat, I'm just trying to see if there's any middle ground. And it's useful because then there's more tools in my tool belt. So this is what I did. I basically, let me save this because I want to work on this. 67. Okay. So I fired open 3D Coat. And then I said, okay, I'm going to make a thing. Not 3D Coat, this is Silo. All right, that's fine. All right. So then I need to unwrap it. Let's go ahead and unwrap it right there. I've actually learned there and there. Let's cut it across those. Let's cut it here and here And then we might not need to. That seems fine. That seems fine. So you go here. I need to make a hotkey for that because I do this often now. And then you go unwrapped it all. I wonder if there's like live arrange UVs. Oh yeah, look at that. See, this is what happens when you practice a lot.
Yeah.
You start asking questions, and I've been manually moving them, but I wonder if there's a faster way. And I read over here arrange UVs, and I'm like, oh, I bet if I select them all, it'll arrange it for me. So problem solved. And then I can go in here and just kind of try to take more UV space, but it's irrelevant. This is just a test. See, it's not important to master UV placement.
Mm-hmm.
What's important is save, select, or export scene. See, there's nothing here, but I had a bunch of practice. See, this is already named practice 2. So practice 1 again, because I deleted the other ones. You say, if you follow me on Facebook, you've seen my second practice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just go here and I'm like, all right, let's open this bad boy. Let's go to desktop, practice 1. Let's do 1500. Oh, not inches. Whoops. 300,000 pixels. Okay. There you go.
Whoa.
Well, it looks like it's not UV'd correctly. Oh yeah, it's UV'd fine. It's just being lit all weird.
That's crazy. Never even.
It's all right though. I'm going to do this unlit.
Mm-hmm.
So then I just started painting in here. I'm like doing a 3D thing. But look at the weirdness. You see how it's kind of like. See how it's like kind of doing some weirdness.
Mm-hmm.
All right, like what the? See that? So then that's when I learned you can do projection. So projection is just projecting onto it. It's ignoring the UV space. It's just treating it as like a canvas painting. So now I can paint on this ideally however I want. But you'll see in just a moment that that's not ideal, because once I flip the angle, you'll see it's like completely warped. And it seems like, oh, well, that's okay. This is like a small problem. I can just kind of project on a different angle and then just like kind of round it out here, But then if you move it again, in this case, it didn't do it. Maybe because of this shape. But there's specific different shapes that I was dealing with that would cause this weird kind of error in the painting. So I asked myself a few questions as well. Am I willing to sacrifice just so I can have a real comfort in Photoshop? Right? Because I feel comfortable in Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can go in here and then you can make. You can go in here, you can make and paint whatever, but it's a little lag,
Yeah.
And that's something I don't enjoy. So, but see, it's like all warped and stuff. I didn't know what perspective I was at. I can put in the wireframe, but that's the thing. It's like a little extra work to kind of just paint in Photoshop accurately. So there's that. Or 3D Coat, which is built for 3D painting. Photoshop is actually pretty good, though. You saw it's not bad.
Yeah.
But there's a little, when you do projection mode, it's a little laggy.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see if it's a little bit less painless in 3D Coat. which the answer is yes. So first off, we get, I need to hotkey this real fast. I forget to keep hotkeying this. Flat shade, I think, or smooth shade, I want F1. And flat shade, I want F2. So I can go back and forth. Okay. So I can do something like this. Our back faces. We can just make this white, so it's completely void. And then let's just go into orthographic mode so we can ignore. But what you can do here is, if there's more complicated forms, you can actually calculate the occlusion. And so then it'll create an occlusion path. So there's a little bit of like lighting on it now. See that? But the forms are not that definitive, so it's kind of crappy. But if you do this, and if you do like sphere and hemisphere, just do it again, it should do something like that, right? And so this is all an illusion. It's not really being lit by any 3D lighting. It just took the lighting and if that was in the environment, and then just pretend to add some shadows. Make sense?
Yeah, it's like the lighting we discussed a few weeks ago.
Yeah. So then, this layer is just, I can make a new layer here. And now I can kind of see where the forms are at. But see, here's one of the things too. I have to get used to certain hotkeys. Actually, I'm sure there's a way to default to black and white. Because you can press X and it flips. So I just want to get D. If I can get D to default the colors, that's the next thing I'm going to try to learn. I think there's a hotkey somewhere, I'm sure, right? To reset the colors in the paint room. In fact, I probably can just ask my friend. He might know. Okay, but whoops. And we want to ignore back facing, and then we want to do on like a regular brush. So now it's looks like Photoshop, right? And I use R and T to decrease my brush, so I figured out yesterday how to do that. V is to color pick. So that's something that I have to get used to. But it's not a big deal. D is what I really want. That's what I really need. Okay. It's pretty interesting, right? But this is what I did. This is how I practiced. This is how I studied. I just keep trying stuff, right? And I did a lot of these. Nobody will ever see them because it's not important, right? Like they're bad. Like you don't see me showing a lot of my studies, not because I don't do them. It's because it's my studies.
Yep.
You know? But see, what you can do too is you can do the wireframe. You can turn it on so you can see it live, and you can see that it's also seamless. Like the painting is like super smooth. There's no delay at all. And rotating is, I don't have to go into a whole different option to rotate. I can start painting. But you know what's really cool? Let me show something that's really cool. I can go to Photoshop and paint in Photoshop. So it's like, I don't have to worry about anything. You're like, wait, what? I'm painting in Photoshop? What do you mean you're painting in Photoshop? Like, I'm painting in Photoshop. Like, this is Photoshop.
And you're going to export this back to the 3D?
Yeah, and then when I don't have to export anything. It just does a default. Watch.
Okay.
So you'll see. So it's so much more comfortable in Photoshop. It's crazy. And so then, but it's just because I have very limited painting experience in 3D Coat, so I just need to get into it. If I press Control S, just save it. That's all. Bam. Right? So it's like the projection mode and 3D Coat, and it's not really hard to switch between this. I can do this all day. So I have a really good workflow because I was trying to find a good way to do both Photoshop painting and 3D. Like, how can I find a really like unique style that no one can really emulate when I develop my games.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think I'm discovering. As I said, 2D is one of them, right? 2D is like impossibly hard to replicate someone's style. And so then the next, especially if they're really good at it, right? And then the next step was to try to find a way to produce artwork quickly. And 3D is just so much faster to create like animations, physics, build physics around it. There's a lot more. There's a lot more to it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, and I'm trying to think of, because I don't want to go hyper realistic 3D because it's that's easily replicable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
eventually the tools are going to get so good that you can like 3D scan yourself. I
Yeah, you
saw
can
like,
scan like so many people now that
yeah,
and the
so
models are available.
yeah, and so what's the value in just being really good at modeling a realistic character? You know, you're going to see this change where people are like, you know, you got to be able to do that and all that stuff, and there's going to be a lot of hoopla, but they're going to be wrong, just like in history has always showed that people are wrong whenever they challenge technology. And so then I not always, but most of the time, like, so even like earlier when I was saying, you know, what is like what my kids think, that I'm going to be like, what, you know, and it's going to be a new problem to face, but it's also going to bring a lot of benefits. So it's about learning how to divide the pros versus the cons, right? Because a lot of times people don't see the differences and they get
Mm-hmm.
trapped. I'm not, right? I'm pretty, at least I don't think I am. So hopefully that answers your question about like how often I do it so much. That's
Yeah.
why it's no brainer to me whenever people ask. He's like, how much should I do more of
Yeah, I've
study?
spent so long like just drawing and like I guess practicing the wrong way that now it seems like a revelation. Like maybe if I'd spent all that time in the opposite ratio of like studying a ton and you know, trying to practice it and then restudy if it didn't work. Um, but yeah, I think it's going to make a big impact.
Yeah. And so remember that it is challenging.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's super hard. It's because it's more boring.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of power through.
Yeah, I think what happens too is eventually if you do it more, you don't get bored of it
Yeah, yeah.
because you know the power of it. I think the reason why people get bored is that they mindlessly study. I think
Mm-hmm.
if you have like if you're solution oriented, like you're looking for solutions, then it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
seem so boring. Like if you have an agenda. All right. Any other questions? I see someone. If we were doing a character concept for online games, what would be the best to show? Like a turnaround, armor progression, or something else? All of that. Mace, everything. The best portfolio is a portfolio that has a variety of work in it, specifically in the thing that you want to do. Like if you want to be a character concept artist, then you should have not environment. You should have characters with armor progressions. You should have turnarounds. You should have ability concepts, like how they make cast their stuff. In this class, most of my goal is to show you what a portfolio piece looks like, but there's more to it, right? There's not enough time because doing the orthographics in itself would be a whole month worth of work sometimes, right? So I try to give you guys the best amount of tools to do everything. You know what I mean? And so for me, yeah, practicing all these things is super important. Yeah, you should have everything. You wanna basically showcase to your client that you are capable of doing work that is useful, not just draw pretty pictures. Although, like I said, not just pretty pictures, right? Because although people might argue against this idea that it's not, that pretty pictures aren't as cool. No, they are. People like pretty pictures. Don't be naive. The reason why most of you is taking my class is because I do pretty pictures, right? And so, yeah, but production work is super valuable. Sorcery pictures. It's funny, I was talking to Lindsay about big shoulders. I just gave this character super big shoulders, but I'm giving this character long arms deliberately. I like long-armed characters. Any other questions?
Hey Anthony, so I'm not going to be able to make any of the regular scheduled classes from now on. I think he said something about a private class.
Yeah, I think there's another person too that might have some conflict with the time. That's because I mixed up the scheduling. So the way that works is that you just submit to me, and then we'll set scheduled time where we'll meet up when it's available, right?
Okay.
So basically, the 2 times, like you'll still have access to the classes, so like you can watch them later, so you can still submit them during those times, and then we'll just meet up, and I'll just kind of reconnect with you privately.
Right.
It'll probably be, if I can, I'm gonna try to group you up with the other student that's having the same issue, so that way it's like double down. But
okay.
But if not, we'll still make that time. Okay.
All right.
Because that's no fault of your own, right? So then I want to make sure I make up for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Anthony.
Yeah, what's up, bud?
Actually, can I do the same thing for
Nope.
next week last class? Because
nope, only there's a limited offer, and I already exhausted it. Yeah, of course, that's fine.
Yeah, because they have this graduation photo, something like that, in the morning. So.
Oh, never mind then. That's not a good excuse. Yeah, of course. Yeah, don't worry about it. Just message me on Skype, and then we'll coordinate.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Anthony.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you guys. You guys did really good in class. Oh, that's my alarm letting me know that I need to go pick up my daughter soon. I have a secondary alarm. If this goes off, we got to end. So we got 6 more minutes. So any other questions?
Hey, Anthony.
What's up, bud?
Good, man. I have a living style kind of question, because I'm a grown-ass man like yourself. I'm married. I have a job. I'm like in a different mindset than the other guys. That I don't have like so much free time. But man, you're always telling that you take care of your children, you take care of your house, you practice a lot, you work a lot. So my question, because I kind of fight with that, is like, how do you organize yourself? It's a simple question.
Yeah. So unfortunately, there's a simple answer. It's so you said, how do I organize myself? Well, the answer to that question is I organize myself. That's the answer. Okay. And you know how I talk about the more you do something, the better you get at it? Right? Like, let me ask you again that same question, right? Like, do you believe the more you do something, the better you'll get at it?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Okay, so let me ask you, how often have you practiced trying to stay organized or keep yourself organized with your daily activities?
Oh, well, I've almost tried my whole life, but I've always failed.
Okay, so you've tried your whole life, but you always fail. So what have you tried? Give me some specifics.
Well, I tried to get rid of distractions. I try to.
And how long have you done that? Let's just focus on that one. How long have you tried to do that for?
Not so long, because I'm pretty dispersed. I'm like a dog surrounded by squirrels.
Yeah, so let's get back to the question then. So you haven't. You may have tried off and on, right? Like, let me give you an example of kind of what you just said, right? And maybe you would agree. Like if you were to approach somebody and they said, "Oh yeah, I've been drawing my whole life," right? And you say, "Okay, great. How often have you been drawing?" Right? You know, I draw like maybe 3 or 4 times a week. Now, would you take them very seriously if they said they did it all their life?
Well, yeah, you have a point.
You see what I'm saying? So when I say the more you do it, I mean like actually do it. So if you said to me that you spent a year like without trying to engage in distractions, then we probably wouldn't have this conversation because you probably would have figured it out. Do you see what I'm getting at? Because I'm in a position where I work from home now, right? I kind of have my own schedule. I teach, and teaching is kind of like my main source of income, right? And I have all this extra time that allows me to learn new things, right? It took me, because even when I built my business, I became more busy. I didn't get less busy. I became more busy. I had less free time. Okay. And so that was a weird conundrum for me. I thought when you would start your own thing, you would have more time, but it was the opposite. Okay. And so, which became a really valuable lesson for me. Okay. Now, what am I trying to say? Well, I spent the last 2 years, okay, getting to where I'm at right now. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah, I understand.
So basically, I said I want to not work as hard anymore. I want to have time again for myself and for my family, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly transition to that. I'm going to build up my brand a little bit better. I'm going to be more effective, you know, at my work. I'm going to remove and eliminate distractions. I'm going to focus in on what I find is more important, you know? And I did that. It just took time. And the way that I did that was one step at a time. So for instance, the first thing that I did was I downsized my company. I basically got rid of my friends who were working with me. I told them, you know, my bad, this is not working out. You know, I'm still good friends with them. We still talk from time to time. There's no bad blood. But I just was not, like, I just was not in the space of trying to do all that all at once, if that makes sense, right? So then I did that, and then, you know, and then I started to eliminate my responsibilities. I used to do a lot of things, and I got rid of a lot of things, you know? And
so
then,
you're, okay, sorry.
yeah, and then I just, then the next step was distractions. I stopped playing as many video games as I was playing before. Not that I was playing a lot, but just even in just an hour, I didn't feel like I needed to play that much anymore. I really get a lot of satisfaction from learning more than I do from gaming. So I just did that. I switched my hobby to learning again. Yeah. And then, so then I got rid of my second monitor deliberately because it was a distraction. I don't have notifications on my phone, so that the only way that I know somebody messaged me is if I check my phone, literally. You understand? There's no way of me knowing other than going checking myself. Right? So the power of distractions in my hands. So if I check, that means I'm deliberately distracting myself. I'm pretty aware if I'm doing that or not, most of the time. Right? I started focusing on activities with my kids. I got a lot of board games. You know, I focus on activities with me and my wife. You know what I mean? I did a lot. Slowly but surely. You understand me?
Completely and absolutely. It's like what you said, you have to be consistent in whichever you
absolutely.
do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very simple idea that applies to almost in all things. Okay? Including evolution, right? Evolution, that's why people don't understand it, because they don't understand it takes a long time. Right? I have friends who are highly Christian, they don't believe in it. And every time I debate about it, I explain to them, then you don't believe in modern medicine then, right? Because modern medicine is based off of the idea that we're all come from a common lineage, you know?
Yeah, because that's witchcraft. We were created by Jesus.
Yeah, I don't get mad at these people. It's just that that's what I strongly believe in that, and so you have to. The best way to convince people is not to tell them that they're dumb or they're foolish, right? The best way to convince them is to meet them where they're at, and then try to convince them there, right? And if they're not convinced, it's fine. And to be honest, it's absolutely fine, unless they have malicious intent. Then I'll get a little more. I'll be a little bit more stern, right? But most of my friends aren't like that. Most of them are really reasonable people. In fact, I defend them more than I criticize them, because a lot of my friends are really hard on them. And it's the same way that I feel about the political left that are super intense. Like there's a group called Antifa here in the States, and they set like buildings on fire and shit like that, and they like punch people in the face. Yeah, it's not like, come on, think of it for 1 second. Okay, let's say you're a neo-Nazi, right? Danny, let's say you're a neo-Nazi, and you have these wild beliefs, okay? And I come up to you and I say, you're an idiot, and I punch you in the face. Is that going to convert your ideas?
Hell no!
No,
that's gonna make me hate you more.
It's gonna make you more vindictive. Exactly.
Exactly.
So it's just stupid. Of course, violence in extreme cases can cause peace, right? If you drop a nuke on somebody, that's the one way of making peace. But you have to usually go to extreme cases for people to listen to your point, which is like firm force, right? But we're a civilized culture now. We don't have to do that as much, right? And so it's just not ideal. I don't like what's going on. And so getting back to kind of like this idea of consistency, it's the same thing, right? Like just people sometimes want to hear a very simple solution or like a more complicated solution, and if they can just like, just do that, and then they'll be on their way, right? And it's really, there's obviously, like I said, there's things that I did, like, make lists, use timers, be more consistent. There's all these little things. But I would say my best advice to you, bud, is start small. Change one aspect of your life. It could be as simple as waking up early, right? And just stay with it as long as you can, okay? And once you feel like that's just now the law in your body, right? Like that's just your newest habit that you've formed, yeah? Then you can form another good habit. And then you form another one and another one and another one until you feel you've got more control over your life. Does that sound good? Sound fair? Yeah, I'll take that screeching as a yes. Just heard. Yeah, just because I have to get going. One last thing I would say is just to kind of compound this idea. The more you do something, the better you get at it. So if you want to be more active and more attentive to your life, then you have to practice that. Okay. See you guys. I got to go and pick up my daughter now. I got to go run, literally. Later, guys. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you guys really soon. Have a good one. Peace out, friends. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to watch more in the future. If you like the video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you like this content, you can go to my website, robotpencil.net, where you can find mentorships, tutorials, and a Patreon to get more exclusive content. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in my next videos.